Did you know that certain foods you eat daily could shorten your lifespan by up to 10 years? It's true. Even more shocking is that some of these foods are probably in your kitchen right now. If you're concerned about your health and longevity, you've come to the right place. Today, we're diving into 7 common foods that could do more harm than good. These seemingly innocent items are linked to severe health risks like heart disease, obesity, and diabetes. Let's start and see which foods might secretly be harming your health. Did you know that nearly 63 to 74% of Americans consume processed meats like bacon, hot dogs, and deli slices? These convenient, ready-to-eat options are easy to find but come with hidden dangers. Did you know that eating processed meats is like sending an invitation to heart disease? It's true. Processed meats, including salami, ham, and pork luncheon meat, contain a substantial amount of sodium and nitrates. It's like pouring an ocean of salt all over your meal plan. On average, a hot dog has around 500 milligrams of salt, and a single slice of bacon contains about 200 milligrams. Thinking about getting a BLT sandwich? You could be looking at almost a full day's worth of sodium in one meal. But that's not the only problem. Those nitrates, they help in giving the meat that nice and pink look. But when they're cooked at high temperatures, they can turn into nitrous amines, the nasty chemicals which have been associated with cancer. It's like turning your grill into a nitrous amine factory. Hence, if you're going to grill hot dogs for a weekend barbecue, you should think twice. So let's get real here for a moment. High sodium is not only connected to taste, but is one of the leading causes of high blood pressure, a gateway for heart diseases and strokes. You inflate it like a balloon, and sooner or later it's bound to burst. And those nitrous amines, they have been associated with raising the risk of getting stomach and colon cancer. Your food becomes almost treacherous. So what's a person to do? You don't have to go all out and give up bacon completely, but at least reserve it for a few special occasions. Swap in those processed meats for some fresh ones instead. Grilled chicken, lean turkey, or if you're really feeling adventurous, some tofu. And if you think processed meats are bad, wait until you hear about our next food. You might have it sitting in your pantry right now. Stick around to find out what it is. You won't believe it. Sugar. It's sweet, it's addictive, and it's pretty much everywhere. But here's the catch. Too much of it can really ruin your health. Over 66% of packaged foods contain added sugar. It's commonly used to enhance flavor and extend shelf life, but it's wreaking havoc on our health. Did you know an average person consumes around 22 teaspoons of sugar daily? That's over 3 times the recommended limit. You might not even realize it, but you are eating sugar in so many common foods, from breakfast cereals and energy drinks to that so-called healthy yogurt. So now, shall we see what all this sugar does to your body? First, it makes you gain weight. Refined sugar is absorbed into your body at a very fast pace, and as a consequence, it can increase your blood sugar level quickly after consumption. It's like drinking an energy drink. The energy is fast, and then the fall. These spikes in insulin can also lead to insulin resistance over time, which is a gateway to diabetes. And once one is down that road, it is hard to turn back. But that's not all. Processed sugar also puts you at a higher risk of suffering from heart disease. It may cause high blood pressure and bring about inflammation throughout your body, thus causing serious heart complications. It's almost like a constant attack on your body, and it can only take so much. You would probably then ask yourself, what? But I don't eat that much sugar. Think again. Refined sugar hides in many places, like ketchup, salad dressings, and some breads. So even if you're not downing gallons of soda, you might still be getting more sugar than you realize. Here is a story you might be used to hearing. My friend had a very big sweet tooth. He would drink soda in all his meals and could never resist desserts. Shortly after, he began to gain weight and constantly became tired. Not long after, the doctor started to tell him his blood sugar was off the charts. It was something that would ring an alarm, but then again, it took a lot of effort to be able to get back in line. Well, now if you thought that was scary stuff with sugar, just wait till you hear about this next one. It might be something you use every day without even thinking about it. Now comes the time to talk about fats. The good ones, the bad ones, and the ugly ones. More than half of all processed foods can contain hydrogenated oils or trans fats. These oils are cheap and help foods last longer, but they could be shortening your lifespan. Hydrogenated oils, replete with trans fat, belong to the latter category. These oils are used in processed foods to provide a stable texture and longer shelf life. But the cost from a health perspective is very high. Do you know that trans fats increase the risk of heart disease by 21% and the chances of stroke by 34%? Not a worthy gamble, eh? Hydrogenated oils sneak into your food. You may not see them listed as such on food labels, but if you see partially hydrogenated, that's a huge red flag. They are in many everyday foods, from margarine and baked goods to fried foods and even some coffee creamers. Think those crispy fries, that buttery popcorn, or your favorite pastry. Yep, they could all be hiding trans fats. So what do trans fats do to your body? It's not pretty. These fats, when consumed, result in an increase in the bad cholesterol, or LDL level, and a decrease in the good cholesterol, or HDL level. It's really quite similar to putting sludge in your engine. You're not going to feel the negative effects right off the bat, but that is precisely what you're doing. Over time, this may result in the blockage of the arteries, high blood pressure, and, ultimately, heart attacks. It's a recipe for disaster. Trans fats may also provoke inflammation, making contracting diseases like arthritis and diabetes easier. It's akin to lighting a slow-burning fire inside your body. It might take some time for you to notice, but it's causing damage day in and day out. So, what is one to do? Stay away from food that contains hydrogenated oils. One should really look at the labels well. If it has partially hydrogenated, then it goes back on the shelf, and healthier fats in avocados, nuts, and olive oil are settled for. But hold on, because you won't believe how a seemingly healthy food can have such disastrous effects. The next one might be sitting in your fridge right now. Stick around to find out what it is. About 36% of Americans use artificial sweeteners daily. The desire to reduce sugar and calorie intake, combined with aggressive marketing as a healthy option, has driven the widespread adoption of artificial sweeteners. We've all heard this one before, but it's worth stressing again. Artificial sweeteners, such as low or zero-calorie sugar variations, may seem the perfect solution. All that sweetness with no calories? You can keep your cake and trim your waistline at the same time, right? False. It's all smoke and mirrors and may actually be doing you more harm than good. Research has shown that even more lethal sugar imposters than natural sugar, like artificial sweeteners, can lead to increased metabolic disorders and sweet cravings. It is almost like getting into some kind of sugar loop where you think that you're avoiding it, but really it's pulling you back in. You think you've made the healthier choice when you add artificial sweetener to your coffee or tea, but afterwards it just makes you reach for something else sweet. That's because some artificial sweeteners can trick your body into thinking that it has not really received enough sugar, hence the sugar cravings. It's kind of a trick that the taste buds play on the mind, and the consequences? They can be serious. Artificial sweeteners like aspartame and sucralose have also been associated with weight gain and changing bacteria in your gut. You have billions of friendly bacteria to help you in the most important matters of your life, both in overall health and digestion, in your gut. It can, at times, interfere with the equilibrium of good bacteria in the body, sometimes leading to digestive issues, immune system complications, and in worst extreme cases, mood swings. It's like turning your gut into a chaotic battlefield. But that's not all. Another thing that has been linked to these artificial sweeteners is an increase in type 2 diabetes risk. Isn't that ironic? You include these to avoid the risks of sugar, but they land you in the same path with something else. It's like replacing one problem with another. So what's the best way to go about it? Stick to natural sweeteners like honey or stevia, and be very sparing in using artificial ones. After all, moderation is key, and knowing what you put inside can make quite a difference. Do you think you know what to avoid? The next one might surprise you. It's something you probably keep in your pantry, and it can have quite an adverse effect on your health. Refined flour is in many of our favorite foods, from bread and pasta to pastries and pizza. Refined flour is cheap, has a long shelf life, and creates a soft, desirable texture in baked goods. Healthier whole grain alternatives are gaining popularity. But here's the thing. Refined flour has lost most of its nutritional value during processing. When it is refined, the bran and germ are stripped away, leaving just the starchy endosperm. It's like taking a loaf of bread and removing all the good stuff, leaving you with a pile of empty carbs. What's the problem with that? Well, when you eat refined flour, it gets digested quickly, turning into sugar in your body almost instantly. This leads to blood sugar spikes and crashes, like a roller coaster ride for your glucose levels. These spikes can leave you feeling tired and hungry, making you reach for more sugary snacks to keep you going. It's a vicious cycle that can lead to weight gain and obesity. But that's not the worst of it. Those blood sugar spikes can also lead to insulin resistance, which is a key factor in developing type 2 diabetes. It's like overloading your car's engine until it can't keep up, and once you start down that path, it can be tough to turn back. Not to mention the other metabolic disorders that can come from constantly spiking your blood sugar. So, if you're eating a lot of white bread, pasta, and pastries, it's time to rethink your diet. Switch to whole grains when you can. Whole wheat, quinoa, and brown rice are great alternatives that still give you the carbs you need, but without all that extra sugar. You might be eating this next one every day without even knowing it. Curious? Keep watching to find out what this common food is and why it's on our list of dangerous foods. Salt. It's something we all need, but too much of it can spell disaster for our health. Americans consume 3,400 milligrams of sodium daily on average, exceeding the 2,300 milligram healthy limit. It is a cheap flavor enhancer and preservative, and it's found in shocking amounts in processed foods, restaurant meals, and even seemingly healthy options like bread. Let's talk about high-sodium foods and why they're bad news for your health. On average, a person usually takes in about 3,400 milligrams of sodium every day. That's much higher than the recommended 2,300 milligrams. This literally equals taking in a full teaspoon of salt. Wow. So what's all the fuss about high-sodium foods? First, they can lead to high blood pressure, one of the major risk factors for heart disease and stroke. It's like cranking up the pressure in a garden hose. Sooner or later, something's got to give. When blood pressure is high, it can cause the force of blood against heart walls to be too great. Over time, this can lead to heart disease because the organ needs to work extra hard to send blood throughout the body. But high sodium doesn't just affect your heart. It may also cause fluid retention and, in turn, edema and bloating. You know that feeling when your rings are too tight or your shoes are tighter than they usually are? That's what too much salt can do. And if you are munching on high-salt foods regularly, this may very well be happening to you without you knowing. Where is this sodium coming from? It hides in most of the common foods, such as canned soups, frozen dinners, and deli meats. And don't even get me started on fast food. Those fries can really be mouth-watering, but they have a lot of salt. No wonder such big masses have to fight their pressure. So what's a person to do? Start reading food labels and make lower sodium choices when they're available. Swap out processed snacks for fresh fruit and veggies. And maybe cook at home more often, where you get to control the salt shaker. This last one is a common staple but probably saps your health. If you think you know what's coming up next, think again. You might take that every day, perhaps even twice a day. Stick around to find out what it is. Let's talk about alcohol. I mean, who doesn't, right? 1 in 6 adults binge drink about 4 times a month, a pattern that carries short and long-term health risks. Alcohol is deeply ingrained in many cultures, readily available and often used as a way to relax or celebrate. It's everywhere. You go to parties, dinners, even friendly get-togethers. But while it may be considered one of the staples of social life, it can also turn out to be really hazardous for your health. Alcohol can seriously affect your liver, your brain, and your total longevity. Pouring gasoline on a campfire seems under control until it flares up out of hand. One of the worst risks that come with alcohol is getting liver disease. Your liver is supposed to process all that crud but pumps too much in from alcohol and it overloads the system and backs up in the form of fatty liver, hepatitis, or even cirrhosis. It's a slow, painful slide downward and hard to bounce back from once your liver finally becomes damaged. Think of your liver like a car engine. It can only take so much wear and tear before it breaks down. Alcohol may also increase the danger of cancer. Based on current studies, heavy drinking increases the likelihood of developing some kinds of cancers in the liver, throat, and even breast. It is like opening the door for these cancerous cells to come in and make them feel at home. And yes, getting addicted is a sure thing. Alcoholism could take over your life. It could affect all aspects, including relationships, work, and your mental health. Let's quickly go through the 7 life-threatening foods you need to stop eating, beginning with processed meats, like sodium and nitrate-packed preparations that could pose a risk of developing heart disease and cancer. Finally, we discussed refined sugar. Refined sugar may be one of the causes of a person to be obese and diabetic. Lastly, we discussed hydrogenated oils. They contain trans fats. These trans fats clog your arteries and raise cholesterol levels. We didn't stop there. We saw that even artificial sweeteners, which sometimes project the picture of a better and healthier replacement, can, however, invoke metabolic disorders and change the gut bacteria. We also saw that the refined flour can act very fast to convert to sugar, hence causing spikes in blood sugar levels. The sixth danger zone we pointed to was the increase in high sodium in foods, which might bring about high blood pressure or other complications. And lastly, alcohol was also mentioned as it relates to liver disease, addiction, and cancer. But here's some good news for you. By recognizing these foods and making better choices, you could live a healthier and longer life. It is not all about cutting everything down. It is more about finding balance and making small changes that add up over time. If you found that helpful, make sure you subscribe to our channel, as we have amazing tips and tricks coming up for you to replace this dangerous food with other better alternatives. So you will definitely not want to miss that. So hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications so you never miss the latest content we update. Take our word for it, you won't want to miss what we've got coming up next.